Hi everyone, I'm Eason. And on April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. And Robert F. Kennedy later gave a speech explaining and really trying to calm down many of the racial tensions between the black and white community. And so I'm going to interview two different people and how they really shared completely different feelings because of their big age difference, but how both of them really related to this issue and how it impacted their lives. Hi everyone, this is Nancy Lloyd. And so, Nancy, how did you react to the news when Martin Luther King was shot?
Everyone was devastated. We were in high school, and it was a very scary time.
How old do you think you were around then?
I was 16, and a lot of us were afraid to go to school because the racial tension was unreal.
So what, did something happen in the classroom or did they...
Just a lot of threats between kids.
So how did those around you react?
Just scary time. There was talk of riots at that time, and I told my parents I was afraid to go to school. A lot of kids felt the same way.
Did your parents say anything about the issue?
They thought that it was a tragedy, a terrible tragedy, and they just said try to overlook everything and go to school and just ignore the situation if anybody tries to start trouble.
And so what lessons did you learn from the turbulent period in American history?
I've learned that we are all different and we need to accept each other for what we are, whether we have faults or not. Everybody should try to get along and keep peace in the world.
So did you listen to Robert F. Kennedy's speech about the assassination after?
I did. It was in Muncie, Indiana, and it was really heartwarming listening to him.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. Hi, everyone. So this is the next candidate for interviewing about Dr. King's assassination. So how did you react to the news of Dr. King's death?
Well, I was at work. I was a management trainee at that time, and we worked out of 31st and Kedzie Street, which was the west side of Chicago, southwest side of Chicago. And when we heard it, we discussed it, but we didn't know what the ramifications were or what was going on until we got home that night. It was determined the next day that we would continue to make deliveries, but we would put 2 people to a truck. And since we were hauling hazardous materials, our delivery that I was on was in the southwest side, and it was a very touchy, hairy situation because the crowds were starting to gather, turning over cars and setting fires. So that was my initial reaction to it.
So how did those around you react? How old did you say you were around
I was
then?
28 years
28.
old. Everybody, I don't know what their personal feelings were, but they were concerned for their families mostly, as was everybody. But I personally was not afraid that anything was going to happen. But as I learned later, that there was a lot of reason for concern.
So there was a lot of racial tension really building up?
Yes, there was a lot of racial tension. As when we went on our delivery into the...
So you almost added another guy for extra security.
Right. We went and we were delivering to either Seal Test Ice Cream or a meatpacking company. And the crowds were forming, and we thought that we would not get out because they were all around us.
Oh wow.
We could start seeing the smoke in the buildings. We got the radio report that snipers were shooting at the firemen, that the firemen had to withdraw. We made our own personal protective plan, and we did get out, although they did try to stop us, but our truck was so big that they gave it a second thought. But we made it safely back to the plant, and then they decided to let everybody go home early, which was for me about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
So what are some of the lessons that you learned from this turbulent period in American history?
Well, I think the thing is that
Because it was JFK's assassination,
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, there's a lot going on.
the assassinations don't accomplish anything, number one. Number two, looking back at all the personal injury that people did to each other, innocent people were hurt. The buildings were torn down. Because they were all set on fire. They were just rubbish after the riots, and people didn't have a place to live. So it's kind of like cutting off your arm and unable to feed yourself. And it was just a sad overall incident that never should have happened.
So it kind of relates to like some things that are happening today with a lot of African Americans being shot and a lot of racial tensions between cops and African American people.
Yeah.
It could kind of relate to this
Yeah,
kind of period.
well, most definitely. I think the police have a job to do, and they have a split second to make a decision. But then again, I've known a lot of policemen, and it's just a few rogue policemen that give the police department a bad name. On the whole, the policemen that I've dealt with have been pretty nice guys, on the whole, and I've known quite a few of them.
Okay, thank you so
Okay.
much.